Crochet. I'm Carol, and today we're going to learn why we need a yarn swift and why we need a yarn ball winder. So this goes back to September when my wonderful son visited us down here in Texas. We had a great time. Of course, I dragged him into the craft store with me with the allure of making him a hat. And of course, wouldn't you know it, the yarn he picked out came in a hank like this. And as a relatively newbie crocheter, I had no idea what I was getting into. I watched a couple YouTubes where somebody showed me how you untwist the yarn and maybe put it around the back of the chair or your knees to unwind it. And anyway, I got it started, and then I got up because I think the dog had to go out and pee or something, and I set it down, and it was a disaster after that. And I wanted to make this video so that you know how, first of all, to pick out the equipment you need to not have this happen, because that was straight up not a good time, and how you can turn this into something like this that you can use and actually crochet a beautiful hat for your son or yourself or your grandma or a friend or somebody you've never met. Without having it turn into a tangled experience. Because what happens with many yarns, particularly your natural fibers, is the fibers in the yarns will tend to cling on to each other, and one wrong move and you have a lot of yarn barf, as we like to call it. Why do we call it yarn barf? Because you kind of want to barf when you see what's happened, because you're going to be untangling instead of creating. So, but I kept this because, waste not, want not. It's going to inspire me to do something besides make this video for y'all. But hey, let's get to it. Enough talky. So, making this happen, we're going to turn this into this. And so to do that, we have some equipment that makes it a lot easier. Yes, you can unwind this using the back of a chair and a friend or two, or maybe a margarita or some straight shots of whiskey, or healthy unalcohol water, not a White Claw. However, I really recommend, after my other experience, that we invest in the proper equipment. And it's going to be an investment, but it is not out of reach for the average person who also has a family and needs to buy food and maybe be a wallet support system for a vehicle or two. Got way off track there. So this is one of the vital pieces of equipment. This is really the main and only one you need for sure. If you have to choose between a yarn ball winder and a yarn swift, and you're going to work with yarn that comes in a hank, you want a yarn swift. So a yarn swift, quite simply, I'm going to kind of take this one down and show you how we put it up. First of all, it collapses nicely like that, so you can store it in the box it came in. These are fairly readily available. I don't know that you'll find it at your average big box craft store, but you sure can find them at many online sellers. So this is your yarn swift. You already saw this umbrella-like part of the swift. It goes up a lot easier if it's actually hooked to the table. And then there's this wooden bracket, which with this wooden screw will clamp onto the edge of your table or a counter wherever you want to work with your yarn. So right now I am going to annoy the gray cat that is laying on this dining room chair. Nope, he's not moving. He is invested. That is his chair. But I'm going to go ahead and put this right here because I want you to be able to see what we're doing. And I'm going to activate this connective feature. All right, it's on there good and tight. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to really ratchet it down. That's just going to wear out your swift faster, and you certainly don't want to over tighten any of your screw threads, but you should have it secure enough so it won't fly off and hit the cat and have you wind up with yarn barf instead of yarn ball. So we're going to now kind of guesstimate how big or how high we should put our swift. And the way we do this, there's this other bracket and clamp down here, also screws in. This slides up and down in order to accommodate the circumference of your hank of yarn. There are different sizes of yarn swifts, but by golly, if I need a bigger one, I'm going to take my yarn to the craft store and have somebody else unwind it for me. I'm just kidding. I'll probably buy yet another piece of equipment for my crochet. I like the term dependency rather than habit. So here we go. Yarn swift, up and down, change the circumference in order to accommodate your hank. Now, let's take a look at our hank. Unfortunately, this is a bit of a dark color, but hey, it's what the kid chose. I love my son, so here we go. We're gonna make this work. So your hank of yarn has been dyed, hand dyed, and then twisted together, and you've got these lovely variegated colors that are just gonna look super swell on a hat. But you need to untwist it in order to work with it. And you're safe doing it right now because, unclear if you can see this, but I'm gonna point it out. You've got some yarn, some thread here that is holding your hank. It's around the circumference of the hank. See how my thumbs and forefingers are? It's holding stuff together for now. So we're safe to untwist this hank. And the way we do this is we just very gently, with our heart in our mouth, because we're new and we're panicking, untwist this bad boy and get it ready to work with. And this is a little bit daunting, but it shouldn't be, because what that first untwist is really not that critical, even though I panicked. Don't panic. It's yarn. You can always go buy more, but it's nice to not have to do that. So, so this is the first untwisting of the hank. And now we're going to untwist it the remainder of the way. And now we have, ooh, the donut of yarn. And you figure at this point, I don't need a yarn swift or a yarn ball winder. I got this. I can put it around the back of a couple dining room chairs, and you can, but just know that you can't step away from it, and you're going to be working at this for quite a little bit. So here is our now unbunched or unwound hank of yarn. You notice we've got these little threads that hold it together so it doesn't get untangled. It's kind of crossed like this, but this part is not critical. It's not critical that you keep the part that's separated by this X here. I'll show this way. It's not critical that you keep that separated, because it's not going to matter when we start to work with it. I'm going to try to get it in close so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, that's the only critical thing, is how that is holding this into a nice organized skein of yarn that won't become a tangled mess. So I don't think anybody needs me to pick up that piece of yarn barf and remind them, because that was straight up horrible. So let's talk about now how we're going to load our yarn onto the swift, because if we load it the wrong direction, it's not fatal. We'll still be able to get our project done the way we want and get our yarn ball unwound, but it'll be a bit more physical work for you. So if you have elbow or shoulder issues and you don't want to basically be unwinding your yarn because you loaded it the wrong way on the swift, like I did the first time I tried, then the direction we load it will be pretty important. So let's see here. So we're going to try to figure out where this thing begins and ends. And they usually try to make that pretty easy by tying these hold together threads are a bit different color than the yarn itself. And you'll notice that the yarn's been tied on. And this should then tell us what direction we're going. So it looks to me, based on where it's tied and where it's going to, that the yarn was wound going this direction. And so if we load it with this up, this swift is going to rotate in a direction opposite to where we'd like to go for the greatest ease of winding onto the ball. So I'm going to flip it over, then that should mean that it should unwind. Hold on, this is complicated. I've had a lot of coffee today, but apparently not enough. So this should then be able to unwind the direction we want. So let me think about that for a second. And it's okay to stop and think, because you've got time right now before you turn things into a tangled disaster to really plan out what you're doing. And it's always okay to stop and even take a step back. It's something I learned in nursing school from my beloved senior term instructor, she said, you know, if something doesn't feel right, it's okay to take a step back mentally. You can even physically take a step back and then consider the situation. So there we are. Successful. The cat has exited the chair. And now it's just us. Well, and a half Aussie, quarter border collie, quarter coyote dog with anxiety. But I mean, the ranks are thinning. So if you're still with me, and I hope you are, I hope you haven't left like the cat did, because he doesn't need to know how to use a yarn swift, but you do. So I think this should work with the yarn going that direction, because I want it to pull this direction towards my yarn ball winder. But more about that in a moment. So here we go. Big deep breath. I'm going to pull up my big girl panties, literally, because I'm going to pull up my big girl panties. It was Thanksgiving yesterday, and a lot of it's still there from Thanksgiving 1997. So working out will be one of our goals sometime, but not today. Today, we're going to work with this yarn. So we're going to load it on our swift like that. So I'm going to get this swift up into a little bit of position based on kind of what I'm eyeballing for diameter, and then we'll tighten it up nicely from there. Nope, too tight, already failed. No, we didn't. All we have to do is just let it down, just like every member of any group project I ever worked with in college did. And then we can raise it back up again. Just like we raise each other up as crocheters to, I said, raise it up. Okay, so we're gonna raise it up like this, get it nice and comfortable. Oh yeah, that's right. You know what, weird thing, this bracket won't hold up this slidey thing unless we move it up there. So, we've got it up there. And again, does not have to be He-Man tight. This is probably some pretty light wood like balsa. Maybe it's beech or something. It's nothing very, very super sturdy, so be gentle with it. So now you see we've got our swift, we've got our yarn on it, and it's rotating. Question is, if I go a little looser, will it rotate more easily? Yes. So don't feel like you've got to have it up here super tight. Go ahead and relax it a little bit so that it can turn with greater ease. It should turn like that. P.S. It's one of my favorite t-shirts. Ask me about my T-Rex. Anyway, so we've got our yarn loaded on our swift. Notice how the way these X's cross, it's going to hold it securely, and you can rely on your swift to hold onto your yarn for you and kind of be like an extra set of hands, or 2 or 3, but not cat hands, because those would just cause destruction. So now we need to relocate our end again. So let's bring that back around and see if we can't find that. So that's not tied off to any yarn that I see. So we'll come back around. Aha, here we are. This is tied off to the yarn, so we know that this is our beginning. Can it pull easily? Mostly. I mean, it'll pull a lot easier after this is undone. So, but this is a good time to take care of any twists we may have inadvertently put in our yarn when we were loading it on the swift. Get it straightened out, and really let's make sure that it feeds smoothly as we now, with the greatest of trepidation, start to cut our helping hand yarns. So again, here's our starting yarn, and it's tied into this guy, and I'm going to leave this because sometime later it's going to help me locate the end of the yarn. All right, sweet. I didn't cut the yarn through the middle. That's the other really important thing. Don't cut your yarn through the middle. Bad plan. So here we are. Boy, I hope this is right. I don't know. A little nervous. Cut as we go, and remove and set aside. Okay. Cut another one. Hoping for the best. Okay, so now a little problem. That was not the end. Oh, dang it. This must be the end. So it's okay. take a breath, panic a little, you're gonna be fine. All right, so apparently we're tied together like that, and that's okay. So we can let one end drop, and I think we're gonna be all right. So I'm gonna leave this fancy tasseled end here, hope for the best. I'm actually gonna kind of set it down in the middle so that it's out of the way and we don't catch it as we go around, I hope. And we'll just do a little test here. Are we right? Yeah, we're doing okay. So let's bring this back with this part's ready. I'm just gonna kind of loop it over there so it doesn't get lost. And now we're ready to go on and use our ball winder. So this is our ball winder. Hopefully you can see it. I'll move it here a little bit, and I'm going to show you its parts. So it has a suction cup on the bottom here that enables it to hang on to the surface that you're going to adhere it to. And then it's got a power button, power cord that unplugs. This is the part, I know it's got a name, hang on, look at the instructions. Ball holder tube is its technical name. So it's got a ball holder tube, and it's got the, what do they call this guy? Guide hook. They don't actually have a name for this neat little groove thingy, but as you can see, if I rotate this little cassette goes back and forth, and that's what winds your yarn back and forth on the ball. All right. And the rest of it I'll just kind of tell you about as we go. So I feel like this is a good distance away from my Swift, and I think that'll work fine. So I'm going to release the suction cup. The carrier handle is already in the down position per the instructions. Now we're attached to the table. Now we're ready to load the yarn into our yarn winder. So we have a guide. Pretty easy to load that, just goes like that. And then this little guy creates tension just like our fingers do. I'm gonna load it this way because that's what they showed in the diagram. Whether that's right or not, don't know, but it worked. And then we have this little keyhole here, just like the needle of a sewing machine if you're a machine sewer. And it's ready to go. So, proof is in the pudding. Let's find out how we're doing. So we're going to go ahead and turn it on to the lowest setting, speed-wise. And fail. What did we forget to do, guys? You guessed it. We did not load it into the notches that hold the yarn securely in the winder. And pro tip, if you want to be able to find the middle of the ball, my suggestion is go ahead and be generous here and have a big old thing sticking out so you can find it really easily if you want to do a center pull. Up to you. I'm kind of an outer pull or center pull kind of girl. I'm not real picky, so it's probably going to wind up, but we'll see what we can do. So once again, let's turn this bad boy on. I'm losing my center. Okay, hold on. So we'll just leave that laying out like that. So here we are, kind of watching our Swift as we go, and honestly we need to help this along a little bit. So I'm going to say, just because the way this is loaded and it's catching on itself a little bit, go ahead and pull a little free, turn your machine on and wind, and then keep it coming. So it really doesn't matter which way you load it. With this particular skein of yarn, you're going to wind up having to manually pull from the Swift as you go. It's good cardio. Let's stop a moment, because what happened? As we were focusing on pulling from our skein, guess what? We got all buggered up in there. So make sure we don't catch the yarn under there. So we'll serve as kind of another yarn organizer or a yarn guide with our hands. So let's keep going. Okay, we got a knot. What do we do? Panic! No, just kidding. Yes, panic. Because it's navy blue yarn. That's awesome. So the answer is, you know what, just only wind off a little bit You know what's hilarious is I did a trial run off camera. It went flawlessly. All right, you know what? By the time we get to this spot, if we're pulling from the outside of the skein, we're not going to care. It's a sloppy thing to do, but you're going to find knots too in your yarn that comes from your manufacturer. I think you know why now. So anywho, there we are. Got some yarn let off ahead. This time we're going to take control of our yarn. Oh, look, see, it's like that knot never happened. We hit it. Yay. And so kind of get into the right rhythm where you're pulling enough yarn and not causing yourself a major disaster like I think is developing right now. Yep, pause. Okay, so now we have a little bit of an issue. What happened? Well, let's troubleshoot it and see. We have this yarn is what's coming off, and somehow this decided to involve itself. So the easy answer is just ease that back up onto the skein, back in business. So you can see that you need some patience to do this, but I am telling you, with a yarn swift, way better than doing it by hand. So let's meet up when I get to the end of this, and we'll see how everything turned out. All right, welcome back. Kind of got our poop in a group now. So I'm going to show you kind of what's been working for me. I know y'all are smart. You're going to figure out an even better way to do this. But so far, I know that what we're doing here is way better than yarn barf. So let's finish this up together. And that way you can get an idea of an actual elapsed amount of time it takes to wind. It's about 400 and something yards of this super fine size 1 merino wool yarn. So let us resume our winding. Okay, that was bad. That was not good. All right, so hold up a second here. Let's do this. Let's make sure we're okay still. And we are. Yeah, don't do that either, okay? Have enough pulled free before your smart alecky self turns on the power. Nope, we're unhappy. So now let's diagnose and find out where we went wrong. Well, let's find out. Let's see, we've got our yarn and we've got our winder. So let's see if we can resume here. Okay, we're somehow unhappy, and I think it has to do with the path of the yarn on the ball. Yeah. Okay, so let's pause a second and let's just move this back a bit more, and then hopefully we won't fall off the edge. The other thing too is make sure we're actually on the ball. Yep, we are. You know, I didn't set out to make a video to show you all the different ways you could screw this up, but I'm kind of glad I am, because I feel like this is a more realistic view of what we fiber artists go through as we're learning our craft. And I would rather have me show you this and go through a little bit of stress so that you kind of know what to do and you've already seen somebody troubleshoot it. A lot of what we do in life is problem solving and troubleshooting, and that's okay. That's fun. One of the fun parts of being human. And I'm probably not doing this perfectly, so if there are any experts watching this that want to come and give me a lesson or have some pointers, feel free to drop a comment down below. All right, let's keep rolling. See what I did there? Rolling. Okay, so we've kind of got a good rhythm now that we're done having our little panic attack. Just kind of hand over hand pulling it on the swift, and I'm kind of focusing on my dining room curtains right now, because if I stare at this yarn swift and I'm at all prone to vertigo or dizziness, I'm probably just going to wind up throwing up, and then we'll have real barf instead of yarn barf. So just kind of have a point out in the distance. You can see your hand sort of in your peripheral vision, assuming you have peripheral vision. Not everybody does. And we can just hand over hand here, boogie along on our yarn, and trust that as long as we keep the path relatively smooth, that our handy little boy yarn ball winder is going to take care of the rest. Don't forget to look serene while you're trying not to throw up. But you can see that this still, even with all the curveballs I've thrown into unwinding this skein, you can see that this still saves a lot of time and is a lot less heartbreaking than what we went through in September. And I am telling you, it was crazy. We had yarn all over our king size bed. My son and my husband, oops, I wasn't supposed to tell you my husband likes unwinding yarn bark, but he does. He's a true wonderful support of this crazy craft of mine. Anyway, the three of us are just sitting there untangling yarn. And that's when we decided that our cat is not in fact a cat. He's actually some species of dog, because any self-respecting cat would have been all up in that business and mixing it up. He just laid there on the bed and looked at me, pretty much judging me for the idiot I am. But he didn't get into it and mix it up. So, yarn safety. You want to keep your yarn away from your little ones, except when you're there supervising, because they could actually get tangled up and get hurt, but no matter what, they're going to get all up in your yarn business, and you're going to have a tangled, heartbreaking mess, and that's going to be a major bummer. Also, some dogs that are not cats need to be watched carefully around yarn. We had a Catahoula yellow lab, 11-month-old dog. His name was Blake, but we called him Balake. There's a funny video where there's a teacher mispronouncing students' names. Aaron. It's Aaron. Aaron. Anyway, so we named Blake Balake. He hung out at our house for a couple mornings, during which I got pretty much nothing done because, let's face it, how much fun is it to play with an 11-month-old puppy who just is like, oh my gosh, what's this? What's that? What's this? What's that? Holy crap, this is exciting. What are we going to do now? Yay, can I hump your leg? Anyway, so that's what we did when Blake was here. And I noticed that Balaki went straight for one of my skeins of yarn, started putting his mouth on it and tossing it. It was cute though. He wasn't tearing it up or anything, because I think he'd make a great bird dog. He had a really soft mouth. But anyway, he was tossing my yarn around like, whoa, 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 let me have that. And then he found my crochet pumpkins, the ones from the first and second video on my channel. You can look down below, you can find them there. And it's not too late to start making Christmas pumpkins, people. Or pumpkins for Christmas 2023 and beyond. Sorry, Halloween and, just whenever. Really, honestly, pumpkins are great for all year long. Anyway, he found the pumpkins and he grabbed a whole one and started putting his mouth on it like, well, goodbye pumpkin. Shoot, good thing I took a picture of it already, and it's my profile picture for this YouTube channel. Anyway, long story short, he was very gentle with it, but he was tossing it gleefully, and then he tossed it behind the sectional, and then he forgot about it, and then started going after other stuff. So we discovered that Balaki and the cat did not get along at all. I may post a bonus short of that little interaction, because it was kind of funny. But he got actually kind of stressed out by my mean old man cat, and he actually threw up a bunch of bile onto the dining room floor that I cleaned up. So anyway, all ends happily. Balaki's been rehomed. He has a 3-year-old dog friend, and last video we saw that his new family sent, he and his little dog friend are just having the time of their little dog lives and playing and tails wagging, and I love it when a dog story ends happily. Anyway, I forgot where we were going with all this, but as you can see, might as well have something to think about while you're unwinding a hank of over 400 yards of super fine merino wool, because you're going to be here for a while, and you're busy doing this, so there ain't no way you can put your hands on a Snickers, because you're not going anywhere for a while. But if you stop moving your arms, either your ball winder will be unhappy with you, or you'll just never get it done. So anyway, here we are, unwinding yarn. Oh, you're wondering about the headband I'm wearing? I will do a video on that. This no-cut, granny square motif is courtesy of YouTuber Crochet with Gigi. That's G as in George, G as in George. She is brilliant, and she's got some amazing stitch patterns and projects, and I just love her work. So I turned it into a headband. For my pea-sized head, I wear like a 6 3/8 ball cap, so I'm telling you, tiny head. For me, I think 9 of these squares with 4-weight yarn wound up being the perfect length. But I make these for myself, usually for work, because my head gets really sweaty. These are cotton, and they hold my hair back really well, but they also absorb sweat, because I'm a nurse, and for that first 4 or 5 hours of the shift, I am just running, taking care of my patients and making sure their needs are met and that they're happy, and or at least not unhappy, or at least not unhappy with me. I really do want them to be comfortable. Because honestly, the hardest job in the hospital belongs to the patient. Second hardest job belongs to their loved ones and family members and friends that come to support them during their hospital experience. Everybody else comes third. Anyway, forgot where I was going with this. So I made a bunch of these headbands so I don't have my sweaty head, but also I would show you, but it's pretty scary. My bangs are sort of in a really awkward state right now because my wonderful hairdresser, she was pregnant, and then she just had her baby last week, and my bangs are not going to get cut for a little bit here, so I need to hide them and hold them secure. So, like I say, you can solve a lot of problems with crochet. Or knitting, mostly crochet. You know, as long as you're doing something fun. Oh my gosh, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. But it's not that kind of light, like I'm not going anywhere. Okay, pause. Turn off our machine. We have hit a little bit of a snag here, so we just need to slow down. All right, resume. So anyway, Crochet with Gigi, some other favorite YouTubers I love watching. I love watching Rayman Ray's repairs. He is a very successful YouTuber who basically just shows you a day in the life of a passenger automobile mechanic, a journeyman one. And you can learn a lot watching his repairs, and he's pretty entertaining too. Oops, I forgot. I had a Rayman Ray moment here. Powering down. Pew! Okay, so there we are. That was really traumatic, y'all, but we did it. And it worked out a lot better than this mess. So let's see how it turned out. So we'll just flip back our little holdy thingamabobber. I know it has a technical name. Let me look at the instructions. I can tell you what it is. See, notch on guide bar. Okay, makes sense. It guides the yarn to where it's notched on to this ball holder tube. So what did we get? Well, we have got a nice organized skein of yarn. We could pull it from the center if we so chose, or we can use the outside wind and use a yarn bowl, excuse me. But we've got a nice ball of yarn that we can now use for our project. For my son's hat, I'll wind up running 2 of these in separate bowls, but for now, before disaster strikes, what I'm going to do is use a plastic bag, and I'm going to go ahead and put this yarn ball into the plastic bag, and that way I can have it ready to go. It's organized and hopefully balake proof or cat proof or little kid proof. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you didn't enjoy this video, please feel free. Sorry, it's my first day. Feel free to tell me what I can do better. There's not really a lot out there for unwinding a ball of yarn, I found, because believe me, I looked before I got into this mess the first time, and I think you all see how that worked out. But if there's something I can do better, leave me a comment. I always love to learn and grow. That's what life's about. If there's something you really liked, or if you use this video to get out of your own way and actually enjoy some hand-dyed hanked yarn and be able to unwind it in a way that made it easy for you to get your project started so you could make your gorgeous handcrafted creation. Anyway, if you liked it, drop me a comment for that. And of course, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. Mash that subscribe button. I don't really have a subscribe button I can point to here, so subscribe. And I hope to see you on the next video. We've got some great stuff coming up. We've got a super easy Christmas ornament coming. Then we're going to do a baby hat, because I swear everybody I know is having a baby, not just my hairdresser. And there's a lot of different videos for the baby bear hat out there, but I haven't noticed a lot of attention to the ears and how to put them on. And I'm really super stoked with the one I made tonight, and I can't wait to share it with you guys. We're just going to get into some shenanigans because I'm back. My herky-jerky, weird Thanksgiving week work schedule has resolved, and so I should have some more runs of days off and be able to spend some time with y'all even during this busy holiday season.